All right, this is a Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe, and we shift gears now and talk about technology. And today we are talking about integrating the artificial intelligence technology with the human workforce. And in studio with me to help me in this conversation is Arnold Ochieng, who is the General Manager of Workforce Africa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, the first questions that may come to the minds of people when it comes to AI is it going to replace the human workforce 100%? Is it possible?
Once again, thank you, Mike, and good morning to everyone. Definitely, AI is it's a new form of technology that comes with a bit of some complexities around it and some uncertainties around it. And having said that, it's quite 50-50 around in terms of how it's going to, if it can replace fully the human workforce. But again, you have to understand that for AI to be even effective enough, there has to be the bit of a human workforce or human assistance put into it for it to be quite effective the way it should be. So definitely there is no way that it can 100% take out the human workforce around it. Yeah.
And also when it comes to the implementation of the AI technology within various industries, talk about why it is a challenge in terms of implementing it in terms of cost as opposed to using the human workforce.
So the challenges around, first, the challenges that come around with the artificial intelligence technology, given that when the development came in, or the innovation came in, let's say around 2 or 3 years ago, it first came in form of around text, and then now it's been evolving into various aspects. So there's a bit of a kind of a challenge in terms of how do you integrate, or how are you able now to improve on it going further. So definitely it's going to take some bit of effort in terms of how are you going to skill or how are you going to train somebody who is supposed to be improving this system in a way that it's able to grow with the development of technology. And like we've seen in the past 20 or 30 years, technology evolves in bits by bits. So we are at a stage with AI that it's still at the initial stages, but I foresee that with time there is going to be a bit of development in terms of even how we are going to be tackling it, or how we're going to be addressing it in the future. Yeah.
Are there industries that are, or professions that are going to be affected mostly by the introduction of AI?
I'd say that for the professions that definitely will be affected, but not completely affected, because the reason the technology itself, it's spread across all kind of professions. So you'd find even in the art industry, where that point that we used to have, let's say the cover models for given advertisements that we used to see on our billboards. Right now, we can see that most of those images can be AI generated. So you look at even some professions like other professions, the most skilled professions, the finance bit. Still AI also has some effect on their profession. So definitely, it's not just limited to one. It's not just limited just to the creative industry kind of profession, but it's kind of spread across all kind of professions.
Still on the implementation of the AI systems, it requires a significant amount of money or investment. How can that be justified given the uncertainty that surrounds return on investment?
One thing we need to agree that the only permanent thing is change in everything that we are going to be facing in the coming future. When the technology came in, there are certain investments, or there are certain kind of inputs that are required that need to be implemented. You'll see for the case of some of these kind of technologies that are bringing up, most organizations or most kind of platforms are trying to see the best way to be more relevant or to be more creative using that technology. So definitely their main agenda is to try and implement it as much as possible by getting the best out of it. And the return on investment cannot be immediate as per se, but ideally it's something that should be growing on the organization in a kind of a strategic manner, and how the technology is evolving. So with the time, there are certain aspects that will change, and there's some there are certain aspects that will kind of remain the same. So definitely, the ROI on it is not quite definite, but it's quite put in a place where it's something that will be able to be worked on as the organization grows.
Okay. Now, when you talk about integrating the artificial intelligence technology with the human workforce, is there a way that organizations can implement these systems and still to complement the skills of the human workforce? How can organizations achieve this?
Organizations can definitely achieve both of both worlds, given that we have seen the evolution of the kind of skill sets around the technology space. So right now, most organizations are pushing their workforce into upskilling and reskilling in terms of what the technological advancement requires. You'd find in the tech space there are some languages that are quite relevant to this kind of system. So definitely, as an organization is trying to implement this, the main obligation, the main duty is how are they able to upskill the workforce that they currently have, or reskill the workforce that they currently have, to be able to be empowered enough to now control this kind of technology that the organization is implementing. So at the end of the day, the organization is kind of growing in the tech advancement space, but on the other hand, the workforce is also being upskilled and also being empowered in such a way that they're still able to retain their jobs, and they're still able to power and drive this technology that the organization is trying to achieve. Yeah.
So it also brings about the aspect of communication, because when, let's say in an organization, people hear of AI, they think about job replacement. Is it a case, are AI technologies coming to augment or complement the jobs that are existing right now?
The technology itself is, in the way it has been built to complement what we currently have in the current workforce. The reason why I say that, as I mentioned earlier, that the technology itself was developed by a human skill. There's a human kind of brain or creativity that came up with that sort of technology. So now the main purpose of it now is how does it increase business and operations efficiency, right? Then now, as it increases business operations efficiency, there has to be a creative mind behind it, or there has to be a certain workforce, human workforce behind it that drives exactly what it needs to implement or whatever it needs to grow into. So at the end of the day, it might sound like a conflicting two people trying to fight for something, one opportunity. However, the AI needs the human creativity than the human creativity needs the AI.
So does it mean, even with the introduction of AI, it's also going to create some jobs in the future for the humans?
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, definitely the evolution of the AI is going to create more jobs. Yeah, that is able now to even now advance now the technology to where it's supposed to be. There's a recent kind of technology that was invented by the CEO of X, which is now Twitter. That is the neurology kind of technology. So it's kind of fascinating how things are evolving. However, when now most of these things change and evolve, it's going to create more opportunities on how everyone is now able to accommodate it, even now to use the kind of technology that will be evolved at that given time.
Also, a person would argue that the introduction of AI brings about concerns of eroding human creativity and analytical skills. Is that going to happen?
I doubt that. I think the human mind or the human creativity is quite quite creative in such a way that it's always trying to think of the next big thing or the next advancement of that technology. someone introduced this technology, and then now there's a group now that is now trying to even make it better. And there's also, they'll come up another group that also now to try even modify it and even make it far much better. So I think with time, even the human creativity will be advanced so much that the AI advancement will highly depend on the human creativity.
So there will be even chances of working in the development of such systems and also maintenance.
True,
yes,
definitely.
Now, how can organizations now balance between efficiency? Because the introduction of AI is meant to, as they say, enhance productivity and efficiency. How can this be leveraged without encroaching on the unique capabilities of the human workforce?
Organizations have to, first of all, establish exactly what is the direction they want to take in terms of technology. If it involves the artificial intelligence technology, then what is the direction that they need to decide on where they want to go? With that, they have to decide in terms of what kind of team do they want to set up, or what kind of team do they want to have in that organization, and how do they want to build a team around that kind of technological advancement for the organization. So ideally, the organization's purpose should now be trying to create a team or trying to skill a team around that strategic kind of development of that kind of tech space that they want to achieve in a given strategic period that they need to get to a certain point.
Now, let's talk about upskilling and reskilling. We are living in a digital age, and sometimes the two have become very crucial. So why is it important for organizations to identify relevant skills and prioritize them and invest in them so that they can enhance sustainability, even in times where there are operations being carried out by the AI and others carried out by the human workforce?
As an organization, there's something that you need to come up with, which is called a training needs analysis. So in each and every kind of reviews that an organization does to the workforce that they have, a training needs analysis is approached in such a way that the organization determines what kind of skills are required for certain roles and what kind of skills are required for certain positions. So this informs the organizations on how they need to approach kind of reskilling and upskilling. And upskilling is important in a way that you might have the right talent in the office or in the workforce, but there's a certain skill gap that they require for them to be able to contribute to the next level of the organization. You might have the best talent again, but now you need to approach the kind of contribution in a certain drive that requires you as an organization to be able to be reskilling them in that drive towards that given kind of contribution. Hence the reason why I think most organizations, even as they are approaching the AI kind of direction, training is a part. It should be a key part in every organization. So as they're doing the reviews, as they're doing the assessment, the training needs analysis needs to be part of the key objectives for every review and assessments.
Does it have to point back to the level of expertise of the workforce, or it should be done, it should be inclusive, regardless of their level of expertise or background in terms of specialization?
It's a little bit of both. There has to be a focus on both, given that you need to determine exactly where does your workforce lie. There are certain skills that as an organization need to determine that do I have the right people for this kind of skills? If they're not, then it means you need to try and get people who are aligned towards that skill. And also if you have the right people who are geared towards the direction of that skill, they need to see a way that you're able now to upskill this kind of set of workforce. So definitely it's a mixture of both and for the organization. So it's for them to now determine what's the approach they're going to take in ensure that they're evaluating their skill set and they're evaluating the kind of workforce that they have directly, that is how is it relevant to the strategic position that the organization is taking.
Now, also, how can organizations engage their human resource, stakeholders, and also customers and regulators to address any societal concern that might arise from the introduction of the AI systems?
Organizations need to focus more on around the engagement sessions with both stakeholders. When I say engagement sessions, I mean how are they able to communicate the same. If we see within the workforce that they're currently handling, there has to be a certain structure and approach in the way that communication is done, in the way that they are integrated into the evolving nature of the kind of advancement that or the strategic direction the organization is taking. If it's with the clients or the customers, then again, another approach needs to be established with the organization. So they have to ensure that they clearly define the roadmap that they're taking, and there has to be clear communication in such a way that everything has a clear direction, everything has a clear objective, and there's a clear opportunity that should be communicated for each party to be able to understand that the reason why this strategic position has been taken is because of 1, 2, and 3.
Yes. Of course, there is going to be a cultural shift in terms of how now work is done in various industries. Are there strategies that can be implemented to ensure there is openness, transparency, and a continuous address to a continuous learning, even as companies try to address the resistance to the introduction of the AI systems?
Culture shift is inevitable in any given advancement of any given technology that arises in the market. That being said, it needs to be approached in a certain manner, because if we remember the recent past, before even the evolving of the computers and all that, there was that issue. People used to use the typewriters, and that kind of age where introduction of computers, there was a bit of a culture shift around that. So definitely, even with this change in the technological space, it has to be approached in a consultative and engagement manner. You have to understand that the people who are contributing to the organizational growth are currently inclined towards a certain culture. So shifting the culture might be a bit drastic to them. So it has to be approached in a way that they are able to understand exactly why it's happening, and they are able to be engaged in exactly what they are required to do in order for them to fit into the culture that is required.
Yes. Yeah. Are there ethical frameworks for organizations to adhere to, especially when it comes to AI development, implementation, and deployment, because it also relates to matters regarding privacy and job displacements? Are there frameworks that organizations need to adhere to in such instances?
As the technology advances, then it causes a risk in terms of exposure and privacy invasion. So ideally, in every given activity or in any given engagement, there has to be that bit of ethical kind of control. When it comes now to this AI bit, that at times it might involve accessing data and accessing private information, an organization has to be very open about what exactly they intend to do with the information they're collecting. If there's a certain legal binding document that they need to share, that has to be very open to everyone to know that this X and Y company are going to use your data, and before even allow data to be used, you're allowed to actually sign it off. So the bit of around, there has to be that bit of control and that bit of kind of being open and being transparent in any dealings that it will involve the information or with the activities that the technology will be using.
Yes. Are there metrics to measure productivity and efficiency, especially when it comes to the introduction of the AI systems? Are there ways through which the companies can measure these two aspects, productivity and efficiency?
Productivity and efficiency are activities that require objectivity in terms of measuring.
Yes.
And with this kind of technology, it means when you're approaching productivity and efficiency, you shouldn't approach it in the manner that you are approaching the same kind of activities. We'll take a case example of a given job that required you to be in your station of work from 9 to 5. That was probably the measure of productivity and efficiency for that kind of position. But if there's a technology that requires you to do it and it can get done in terms of hours, less hours, or even, let's say, less than 3 hours, then the productivity and efficiency measure should be structured in such a way that is relevant to the kind of contribution that is being done with that kind of set of technology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, talk about, because the development of AI and its evolution, there are ethical considerations, of course. But how can organizations ensure that, even before we come to the ethical consideration, there's the aspect of training. Is this training going to be regular, or is a one-time thing? Because we are dealing with a system that is almost self-aware. Dealing with such systems, is it important for organizations to ensure there is regular training, or it's a one-off thing?
One thing about technology is technology changes in a span of a minute. So training cannot be a one-off for such kind of advancement or such kind of technology. Training has to be on a regular basis, whether it's quarterly or semi-annually.
Yes.
That has to be, again, considered by the fact that what are the current developments that are around that specific technology that you require as an organization. If the organization focuses on a specific aspect, then it has to be very alert in terms of what are the changes that are taking part in that kind of technology. So they have to make the changes in the training every time, so that everyone is up to par with what's required by that advancement.
Well, automating jobs around various companies, of course, comes with its own set of challenges. Are there things that you can point out that it will, in terms of challenges, it will be a challenge, even if that there is that implementation of the AI, there are still maybe shortcomings in terms of whatever they are looking for in terms of productivity and efficiency?
Definitely, with every advancement, there's challenges, and the first challenge is basically the resistance from the current culture that is already set. You'd find that, yes, the organization might take steps to ensure that there's proper engagement in terms of the shift. However, the current culture might be a bit resistant to the change, given that they are kind of afraid or seeing it as a risk to their jobs. And in that case, it needs to be slowed in, or it needs to be eased in with specific structures and specific kind of milestones that need to be achieved. On the other hand, some of these challenges around the development and the advancement, it comes with, again, skilling of the team that you currently have. There might be a difficulty in terms of how do you handle certain kind of renovations of that set of technology. So the skilling bit, some of the organizations might be a bit behind, but they need to be kind of ready enough to ensure that by the time they are getting the technology, they are ready to invest in the skill, they're ready to invest in the training, so that in any case of any change, they're not left behind, and they don't have these challenges of where they are still struggling to make those advances or to make those changes.
As at now, why should a person focus more on reskilling and upskilling? Why is it important in this day and age?
It is important for everyone to focus on upskilling and reskilling, given that we're living in an evolving world where things, I'll say, learning and education is free in a way, in such that some of these skills currently are available online. You do not have to be focused solely on the kind of set job or opportunities. We are also living in a world where jobs have evolved in terms of a hybrid working environment, in terms of getting kind of short-term projects or short-term gigs. So we are living in a world where you're able to get more opportunity if you're able to dedicate some of your time to reskilling or upskilling yourself. So it's more for your benefit rather than for you to be, rather than for the market's benefit. So it's more advantageous to your end. So
it's about aligning yourself with the changing times.
Yeah, true.
Now, as we come to a close of this talk, why is it that, I'd love to know, are we going to achieve a 100% synergy between working with AI and human, combining the two, human workforce and the AI systems?
Definitely, we will achieve the 100% synergy, given that there are structures that are in place to ensure that things are moving on in that direction. Organizations currently are trying to realign themselves and realign their strategies towards that kind of technology. So it might take time, maybe a few more years to come, but with time there will be 100% synergy in terms of everyone is aligned towards what's the contribution for the AI to the workforce and what's the workforce contribution to the AI, and then how does the organization blend both aspects into one and try and drive the organizational goal.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
Thank you, Mike.
Karibu sana, and we will be happy to host you again. Well, that is Arnold Ochieng, who is the General Manager of Workforce Africa, talking to us about integrating the AI technologies with the human workforce. This is where we wrap matters this segment. My name is Mike Migwe. Don't go too far. Vivian will be back with more. Good morning.